mental slog that this game becomes as you push forward. And that high difficulty curve, it basically makes it so no matter how leveled up you are, no matter how good you are at the game, you never really truly feel powerful. And I think that is where the grind feels most merciless. Drakengard 1 made you grind, but then it made you feel endlessly stupid in doing so, as getting every weapon just to reach Branch E was rewarded with a final encounter that didn't even put a single weapon to use. It was a cool mechanic and a cool joke, but at least you found yourself laughing at it, speechless at the raw audacity that the developers had. During this relentless grind, where you just repeat the same actions over and over again without any type of commentary, subversion, or even cruel joke to reward you, every single blemish just gets magnified. Why do Noe's legs move that way while he's running? I mean, they look fucking broken. Why do the portraits on the save screen look so goddamn mopey? Why does Noe sound like he is on Trazodone during every chapter's opening monologue?
Nothing but cakes now delivers cakes. Cakes for you. Cakes for the fam. Cakes for mom because she's awesome. Cakes for you. Cakes for the office celebration. Did I mention a treat for you? Nothing but cakes now delivers.
At Rice and Kendick, we're going to go all in for our clients and give them light at the end of the tunnel. That is something that not everybody gets to say about their job, that they actually made a difference in somebody's life.
We have the experience for over 30 years representing people who've been injured in our community. Don't make the mistake of calling the wrong lawyer to represent you. Call the right lawyer first. Call Rice and Kendick.
All of these things come into sharper focus with each playthrough, and so much of the stuff that felt new and fresh during the first playthrough just started to melt into the background. Drag 2 tried to step up from the first game in terms of gameplay, and they did, but this grind isn't worth it. Sure, they figured out how to get allied soldiers on the screen this time, but by your third playthrough, you realize that this is only a half-assed attempt at scope, because not only are the friendly soldiers brain dead, but they are only present in the open levels, something to make the impression of a new and improved system before quickly abandoning it. And really, that's why Drakengard lends itself to this but that breakdown that I gave earlier in this video. Sure, things seem better in just about every facet of gameplay at first, but as the grind keeps going, you start to become more critical of the trade-offs that Kaguya made during development. Sure, there are pretty skyboxes in the dragon levels. Sure, the combat is so much more responsive. Sure, there are amazing bits of music. Sure, some of the flavor text this time around for the weapon stories can be fun, with one of them being confirmed as a metaphor for how Yasui and Taro would constantly be at each other's throats during development. And sure, the overall performance is light years ahead of the first game. But to what end? Because the more time that you spend with this game is more time that you realize that it is not built on a solid foundation. And once you finish Drakengard 2, you realize how little impact all of the improvements actually made on your experience, especially when they are undermined by this relentless grind. And you start to realize even more thoroughly that there was never even a good reason for this grind other than preserving a feature that was popularized by the first title. In Branch A, you realize that Legna has plans for Noe and his status as a member of the new breed. You go to the Bone Casket, which is functionally one of the Seeds of Resurrection from the first title, but here it has remixed abilities. And it is here where Legna tells Noe that he is to become a weapon for all dragonkind, that he is to aid them in fighting off the gods who will soon be descending upon Midgard. Noe says that he doesn't want to, and wants to restore the seals in order to maintain the status quo. Lightning gets mad and tries to beat your ass, but eventually gets tired of it and flies off to join with the other holy dragons in order to fight off the gods. Noe realizes that humanity is doomed, apologizes to Mana for failing, and once she kisses him for some reason, he goes Super Saiyan, and then you have this bizarre air battle against your friend that plays like a bad Zone of the Enders fight, and once you emerge victorious, it is revealed that Eris has decided to become the next goddess. And in a flash forward, you find out that she has been stuck living out the rest of her life in isolation. But racked with guilt, Mana and Noe are unable to pursue their relationship. Branch B shows Noe agreeing with Legna and deciding to become the savior, but the Bone Casket rejects our hero and instead takes over Mana, turning her into this run's corrupted boss. So you have to kill your would-be girlfriend, and this run ends with Eris and Noe joining the dragons in what is certain to be a losing battle against the gods. And then Branch C is basically a remix, which features all the plot points from the other endings. But this time you get to keep both of your girlfriends, save the world, kill the dragons, and stop the gods because mana was strong enough to absorb the Bone Casket's powers. And I'll tell you this game would have been so much better off if it just jumped directly to ending C. Branch A and B feel like they wanted to feature some of Drakengard's bleak tone or street cred more than anything. But this is in a game that had already abandoned the darker tone of the first game time and time again, as denoted by even trivial things like the kill counter featuring the dragon this time around, instead of the raven, which implied the carrion-pecked corpses of the fallen enemies. Drakengard 2 is a game that wants you to feel like it has stakes, but it always pulls its punches. Eris didn't die when she was basically shown to. You weren't actually ending the world, even though your actions were the same that doomed humanity in the first game. There just happened to be a Deus Ex Machina this time around. And the mindless violence from Drakengard 1 that was punctuated by a soundtrack that made you feel like you were just another insane man in an insane world is replaced with a high fantasy power fantasy that ends up feeling more like a grind for the sake of grinding and being able to inflate playtime. And even late game reveals, such as Legna the Blue Dragon actually being the same black dragon from Drakengard 1, who entered into the pact with Enuart and 8 times parents, or Enuart and Kidei somehow immaculately conceiving Noe and the Seeds of Resurrection at the end of Branch A, fall upon deaf ears. Or at least it did for me. Drakengard 2 does as much as it can to make itself feel connected to the first game, but it does so in a way that makes it feel like it wants to be neat about it and wrap up everything too cleanly while only threatening the stakes that the first game had. But I will say this, if the goal was to create something that was the opposite of Drakengard 1 in order to challenge the audience, if it was always the intention to improve upon the game while undermining what the first did, then I think Drakengard 2 did everything it set out to do. I know it sounds like I'm shitting on this game, and to a certain extent, I am, but I did have my fun with it. Just most of that fun and wonder was reserved for my first playthrough. And as the game went on, I found it more and more grating. But I'm not a quitter. I saw everything this game had to offer and then some, and I even maxed out this title's in-game timer. Drakengard 2 is a perfect sequel if the intent was to make a better Ace Combat meets Dynasty Warriors while featuring a competent but generic RPG story. If that's the goal, Kaguya did that in spades. But if this was a game that was meant to build upon the aspects that made Drakengard 1 a cult classic, if this game was meant to make you feel like you were getting back into the world and headspace ironed out in the first title, by that metric, Drakengard 2 is a complete failure. And honestly, I can see why it has gone on to exist only in a dead branch of Yoko universe. That's going to be it for this video, and if you made it to the end, thank you for watching. Drakengard 2 is a weird game, and even though I definitely don't have the strongest opinion on it myself, I know this title has its fair share of supporters. And if you are amongst them, please feel free to let me know why you feel this game gets a bad rap. That's going to be it for part 2 of this series, and I hope to see you in the next one where I cover Nier. And while I won't spoil anything, this series only improves from here on out. If you like this video, please consider dropping a like, a comment, and if you want to join me for the rest of the videos, please subscribe. I hope to see you in the next one, and until then, you are all beautiful people, and I hope you have a great day.
Every mystery forms a complex web. But pull the right strand, and it's a straight line to the answer. Universe is on.
Monster!
Introducing new strawberry hibiscus drinks. Sweet, refreshing, just in time for the season. Available for a limited time. Order ahead on the Chick-fil-A app.
Mom, I need your help.
What happened?
We lost David.
I'm going in.
Noobs.
Level up your connection with AT&T Wireless and Home Internet, now available across the nation.
What's up, brothers? Hope everyone's doing well out there. I think it's time for a little bit of dating advice. If dating advice isn't your thing, well, maybe we'll just have a conversation. Shoot the shit for a little while. Anyways, the topic of tonight's discussion is how to make a woman think about you nonstop. You know, how to make her a little obsessed with you. Most guys out there have this belief that when a woman's dating a man, she actually has a big rotation of men that she's cycling through. You know, she's spinning plates, if you will. And she's just looking for a reason to ghost him and go off with a bigger, better deal. Now, that's a cool fantasy and all, but it's not natural. Typically what happens naturally is when a woman starts dating a man, she starts to think about him all the time. You know, she talks about him all the time around her friends. She goes to work and, you know, she's just bringing him up all the time. He's on her mind nonstop. If you're not experiencing this, we might need to make a few minor tweaks. And that's okay. You know, we're all somewhere on our journey.
So I think I realized what this guy's purpose is in my life. I think he's trying to teach me, like, my worth. He's, like, basically saying and doing all the right things and showing me that, like, I don't need to try hard to get a guy to do things, like, to be a good person for me, you know? Like, it's just when you don't have to ask for things, like, someone just does it. Like, they give you their time, they give you attention, they buy you things, and whatever you want. It's just you don't have to ask. So I think this guy's meant to be in my life to kind of teach me these things so that I set a higher, like, standard for my ex. And if Michael comes back around, because clearly I was allowing them to just fucking breadcrumb me. And I don't know, whether this guy works out or not, it doesn't matter. I know he's meant to show me what I deserve and how I've been settling. And who knows, maybe if this guy stays around long enough, it'll make these guys step up. But if they don't, whatever, it is what it is. But I don't know, tell me if you think I'm right. Is this person meant to teach me that, or is he meant for something more long-term? Because I don't know, I'm just getting the vibe based on how he's been treating me and, like, being very persistent. He's showing me that I don't really need to chase anybody to give.
So, how do you get a woman to want to be with you? You know, if you've been dating a woman and you're one of these guys that, you know, you just kind of have this in your head that maybe after a few dates, you know, I'm going to try to extend it as long as I can, but it's probably not going to work out. They always leave. Well, you're probably not doing this correctly. And I should also preface this by saying, if you get step 1 right, but you don't get step 2 right, you're going to look like a simp. If you get step 2 right, but you don't get step 1 right, you're going to look like a Neanderthal. If you don't get step 1 or step 2 right, all right, there's your edit for the day, for the year. Anyways, getting a woman to want you, it's a lot more simple than you think. See, everyone out there, whether you're a man or a woman, we all just want one thing. And it has to do with communication, but a particular type of communication. The listening part. You ever been chilling with your girlfriend and you're sitting there telling her a story, some random story about back when you used to play football or some fight you got in a long time ago, or, you know, some random shit that took place when you were down on vacation somewhere. And she's sitting there and she's staring you dead in the eye, looking at you, engaged, very interested in what you have to say. She's listening to you. She's genuinely interested in what you have to say. Now you realize, like, you can take that for granted sometimes, but that's better than sex. You know, even if she's hot enough to melt your popsicle, if she's sitting there listening to what you have to say, that feeling is better than sex. You know, you feel validated by that. Women are the same way. You know, it's super easy. When she talks, just look at her like she's your favorite television show. Listen to her like she's your favorite song. Now keep in mind, I told you, if you get step 1 right, but you don't get step 2 right, you're just going to be a simp. And we don't want you to be that. Now that's what makes someone want to be with you. When somebody listens to you, you always want to go back to it. You know, you're always eager to go back to that person because
Oh my God. Hello, this is Shanoa. Now, regarding your question, you want to know if your ex, Lexi, is pulling on your energy, and should you text her since you think enough time has passed, or you just want to make sure? Going by your cards, the sun in the primary position does show that baseline, your energy was good until these recent disturbances. Four of Wands in the secondary position, due to it being reversed, is showing that there is something coming from Lexi that is causing some sort of disturbance on your end. I wouldn't be surprised if you're feeling some kind of gravitation or a draw towards her that you weren't feeling before. Seven of Swords ultimately is recommending that you be very careful if you were to contact her right now. It does signify that you would end up getting into some kind of trouble if you were to start talking to her again now. So I would recommend that you most likely try to keep your distance and fight the temptation. Now, if you want to know more about what the future holds for both of you, as well as any other issues that are going to come up, you can give me a call or send me a message.
out, anxiety, you can't sleep at night, you want to be with her again. You failed at step number 2. You failed at step number 1, but you could have made up for it in step number 2, learned your lesson and redeemed yourself. But if you fail step number 1 and you fail step number 2, you can't redeem yourself. And the worst part is you think you did step number 1 and step number 2, but you didn't either. I'm not trying to scold you, but like I said, we got to make a few minor tweaks to fix what's broken. But when you get it figured out, I'm gonna tell you what. Ain't no mountain high enough. All these guys that have this doomer mindset, they think women's standards are so high, and women have so many options and all this and that. Bring it on. Bring on the competition. What are you built like? Are you built to withstand that type of battle? Because really, when guys say that, what they're actually saying is, I'm not good enough for modern women. When they say modern women's standards are too high, that's synonymous with I am not good enough for modern women. It's not a good mindset to have. It's not a good evaluation to make of yourself, because it's something that can change at any given minute. And you're in charge of changing it. But I'm telling you, you learn to listen to what a woman has to say and conversate too. You can tell your story, she'll listen. She's talking to you, you're listening. They get weak in the knees when you listen to them. It's strange how it works. Give her space and be independent. And watch how this happens. Watch how it works. That's the secret to every bad boy. Every guy that's this charismatic ladies' man that you've ever seen. They all do that. They have this very effective form of communication with women. You may notice it. You may even get jealous when you see one of these guys walk into the room. He says a couple things to a lady, and suddenly she's all bubbly and engaged and just, talking his ear off. And you're like, damn it, man. I like this. Because you know how it goes. There's a girl, you probably got one you like. And he probably pisses you off when some guy comes around and he's doing better than you. That's frustrating. When you watch that shit. So, you're like, God damn, what's going on here? What's he doing? Now he's communicating effectively. And now all he has to do is go on autopilot and listen to her. She's getting weak, she's getting emotional. The two of them go on a date together. He hooks up with her. He goes on about his business. You think, what a dog. I loved her and he hit it and quit it. He didn't hit it and quit it. They had a good time together. Now he's going back about his business and she's thinking about it. You don't want to be that jealous guy. You want to be in the game, getting that win. You want to be the guy with skin in the game. But like I said, we're all somewhere on this journey, and the journey is similar. Some are far ahead. You can learn from them. Some are behind, and they're looking up to you. So you got to set a good example. I don't think it's a good example to, give up on yourself. But I don't know. I suppose that's just about all that I have to say on this topic. I don't know. It's probably best to keep this one short and simple. But guys, it's always a good time to have a conversation and shoot the shit with you. I know there's a lot of people out there that say that they would prefer, videos about life and the workplace and money and whatnot. And sure, I like talking about those topics too. But, those topics are a little harder to get into. And truth be told, if you can't get lady problems worked out, you're probably not ready for money problems. You're probably not ready for problems competing with other men in the world of business and status. You got to get the lady problems worked out first. That's the most primitive one. That's the easiest one. They used to say as an insult to people. I remember this guy was talking shit to this other guy when I was young. He said, I don't know why the hell you think you can step to me like that. You can't even control your lady. It was a big insult. I was like, ooh, everybody was like, that was a burn. He got him. Can't even control his girl. What kind of guy is going to step to another man like he's a tough guy? Can't even control his relationship stuff.
Your financial plan still supports you and Eric's favorite causes and can help keep you on the right track to becoming retired, Eric. You're going to love it.
Plan your finances for the people, causes, and communities you love with Thrivent, where money means more. Nature-made gummy vitamins, a delightful way to take care.
All episodes of Landman, TV's biggest phenomenon, are now streaming. The situation's about to come to a head.
How do you know? Because I'm about to take it there.
Landman, all episodes now streaming only on Paramount Plus.
Say what I mean.
That's something. But I do like making these videos, and if you've stuck around this long, I'm going to tell you the big reason why I do make them. And also, I know there's a lot of people that have said, there's other content creators that are like repeating your stories, kind of copying your video setup and doing all this stuff. And you know what I say to that? I say I'm proud, I'm happy, because when I was young, I used to sit on the back patio around my dad, my uncles, and a bunch of their friends. They'd be having a beer, grilling out, and I'd just sit there. My friends would call me, they'd want to hang out, let's go, let's party, we've got stuff going on. I'd be like, I'm good, I'm just going to chill here. I'd listen to them talk. A bunch of military guys, Marines, and mechanics,
No.
whatever. All different types of guys, There might be a business executive, a mechanic, a few military guys, whatever. Like men, right? And I'd listen to the way they would tell stories. And I would just think there was something about that. The way they told that story. There was something to that. I don't have stories myself. At this age, I was like, I don't have stories myself to tell that are that intriguing, that interesting. But the way that he told it was impeccable. It's like if I be like them one day, that would just be amazing. just like I would hear these stories and I would like want to retell these stories to my friends as if I was the one that experienced it. I couldn't because, I couldn't pull it off yet, but it's like, man, there's something to that. So to know that other people watch me and I'm that to them, I think that's pretty fucking awesome. Excuse my language. But it makes it worthwhile. All right, guys. Now it is definitely time to end this video. But I hope this was somewhat informative. And that's about it for tonight. Until next time. See you.
No. Other way. You're twisting it the wrong way. What do you want me to do? Just look down, all right? Just look at me. Look what I'm doing. Yeah. All right, see the way I'm twisting it? Yeah. All right, turn it that way from your end. Okay. No. All right, just put it down. Put it down. Just drop it. All right, let's just hang on and figure this out.
Honda, a stormtrooper's all over the place. Shouldn't we be getting out of here?
All right. Okay.
I saw a spaceship in the ocean and a blue whale in the sky. I saw mountains turn to ink. I ain't even think to wonder why.
Okay, class. Can somebody tell me what kind of bird this is?
I tried to catch one on my club. The snowflake said, hey, put me down.
It's Arizona.
They live in flocks. They're very loud. All right. Today we're learning about flight. Split into groups.
I saw a licorice laser beam. I saw Howard teach Miss Charlene. I see everything. What happens if we can't lift?
You coming?
Great job today, class. See you tomorrow.
Hair. It holds power. The key to your confidence. That's the beauty of Redken's Acidic Grow Full System. Break less. See the fullness of up to 5,000 more hair fibers. Redken's advanced pH science formulas with azelaic acid, caffeine, and prebiotics. Clinically tested to hydrate the scalp. Instantly thicker, fuller looking hair. New Redken Acidic Grow Full System. Your hair to its fullest power.
What's up, brothers? Hope everyone's doing well out there. So it's no secret that a lot of people are quitting and giving up on jobs and relationships. But in particular, they're giving up on jobs giving up on career hopes. Now, let's be honest. If a man doesn't have the means to provide, he's probably not even considering a social life or a relationship. And this holds true for both men and women nowadays. So anyways, why is this happening? Why is this happening? Why are so many people in general just quitting their jobs, tired of the workplace? Well, I'll tell you what I've seen. There's been something happening at every level, in every industry, from the executive level, upper management, middle management, to the entry level laborers. In every industry, factories, warehouses, retailers, food service. The only fields that I'd say have been left out for the most part are the STEM fields, and for the most part, tradesmen. But the majority of the jobs for the middle class at every level, in every industry, have gone through this. So I'll tell you a little story. Back in 2006, I needed a full-time job. I needed to pay some bills. I wanted a new car. And I wanted to be able to pick up the bill occasionally when I go out with my friends. That's kind of my style. I don't like to go out and be a tag-along, mooching off of other people. I like to be in a position where I can give to people. So I took a job at a glass manufacturing company. And it was a large company. I believe there were roughly 25 executives working there, probably about 50 managers, maybe close to 100 supervisors, and thousands, several thousands of entry-level laborers. I was a laborer. Now, it was hard work. We had to mix sand and, put it through a furnace, turn it into this hot molten glass. It was a liquid lava-like texture, kind of cool. And we'd run it through these fixtures and we'd make glassware. And there were other departments that would pack the glass in boxes and, ship it out to Walmart and all the stores. But it was hard work. Every position at that company was hard work. And, it was reasonable, but it was hard work, but to me it was worth it. I had enough money to do the things that I wanted to do. Anyways, I was there for about a year and a half, and one day some of the bosses come down and they say, stop what you're doing. We're having a meeting in the auditorium. So everybody from the entire facility goes into the large auditorium that they had there. And, they sit us down and they tell us the company's about to undergo some changes. And sorry, this was a long time ago. I'm trying to remember this correctly. And they say that we're going to undergo some changes, in terms of productivity and efficiency. So anyways, they start out talking benefits, saying, we can reach quotas and give bonus checks. And, they presented it as if it was some sort of an upgrade. Our jobs were about to get better. And then they let us know there would be some engineers coming in from outside the facility to watch us work, and they may conduct some changes. So about a month later, the engineers come in and they're watching us work. And at the time, we had 15 laborers on each work site. And, you know, the engineers stood there with clipboards watching us for about a day or two. And they had maintenance come in. They had maintenance move a couple of things around. And they said they had an experiment they wanted to do. And they said they would need 5 workers from each work site to stay, and then 10 could go home. And I stayed. I was one of the
Hello, this is Shanoa. Now, regarding your question, you're wanting to know if your ex will come back to you and rekindle your relationship, or will she move on? Going by your cards, the Wheel of Fortune in the primary position is showing that there does seem to be a positive change coming your way. However, the Devil in the secondary position is warning that even though she will be trying to get in contact with you again to try and fix things, it seems like there will be an extra influence outside of the two of you. So it seems like someone who she's been talking to will end up having a lingering effect and will try to affect things. The Star in the final position does say that you mostly shouldn't worry though, because ultimately she would end up wanting to commit to you, and she'd really prefer to just start things over with you. So I don't think you should be distressed when things get a little complicated when she gets back in touch with you. Now, if you want to know more about what the future holds for you, as well as any other issues between the two of you, you can give me a call or send me a message.
You know, we cranked the numbers out, you know, the finances. Some of the workers, you know, we sat back and looked at what they were paying us before and after, and, you know, they started paying people overtime because they weren't producing enough and they had to run extra hours. And it was like, the company isn't saving any money doing this, but yet they're doing it anyways. And less people in the city have jobs because of this. And it's just like all around, from every aspect, it's an epic fail. I could never quite understand why they did that. It was like they poked holes in a ship, you know, that was sailing through the ocean just fine. They just poked holes in it and watched it sink. It made no sense. But I tell you this story because I've seen this same exact thing take place at every large corporation that I've ever worked for. All of them. You know, right around the turn of the century, all these big companies started doing this. You know, they started reducing labor. And, you know, it's odd. They get tax breaks from the city for hiring people, but they still decide to reduce the labor and overwork people and make them work overtime. So you're working your life away for a corporation.
What is up, guys? So I come to you today with a heavy heart to inform you.
The Evergreens family vacation started with Expedia. Dad knew his crew needed peace and quiet, so he booked a vacation home big enough for everyone. Great, right? Nice job, Dad. Expedia, the one place you go to go places.
After reflecting back on this past Unrivaled season, I wanted to share with you guys how I kept going and stayed hydrated the entire time. Drip drop.
What is up, guys? So I come to you today with a heavy heart to inform you that after spending a significant amount of time thinking about AI girlfriends and whether it's actually plausible for it to be the norm in the future, I've basically come to the conclusion that AI is going to replace real women. And I don't think this is going to happen immediately, maybe not in the next 1 to 2 decades, but certainly in our lifetimes. I really think that this is going to happen. So I thought that I would formulate this presentation to explain why I think that this is going to be the case. And yeah, without further ado, let's just get started. So right now, I've talked about this extensively in the past. There's a problem. And this problem is that men are just checking out of dating at unprecedented rates, at rates we've never seen before. And the reason for that is because dating is hard. Women are hypergamous. We know all of this, right? Like, this isn't new information. I don't want to repeat myself. But what's happening right now is that sexually explicit content is the main coping mechanism men use to replace real human interaction, and more specifically, relationships with women, right? But the problem with sexually explicit content is that it's kind of putting like a bandage over a chopped limb. You know, it's not really an effective solution because, number one, men still feel the void of using sexually explicit content. Like, you're not gonna replace women with porn and then feel good about yourself. You're not gonna actually feel like it's an adequate replacement. There's always gonna be a void inside you, something that feels like, you know, you're coping. So as it stands right now, technology, even though it's increasingly replacing human interaction, it's not a sufficient replacement. There's still a void. There's still something missing. And right now, what we have is this, because of technology, there's an asymmetric advantage that women have. In my previous video where I talked about why guys are giving up on dating, one of the main reasons for this is because of social media and globalization. Women have a lot more options, and so the pendulum has essentially swung in favor of women. And so right now, as it stands, we pretty much live in a gynocentric world where women have all the leverage, have all the optionality, they have all the support, and they have all the power. And because of this large asymmetry, which again we've never seen before, because in the past, men kept the female asymmetric advantage at bay because technology didn't exist. So right now you have men just getting pissed off because of holeflation.
I go on Instagram, I see 500 million hot girls. I go on the street, I see hot girls. I go to the bar, I see hot girls. I see hot girls everywhere. I see a hot girl on my timeline, in my life, every single day that I walk out on the street in this world. Do I see hot guys? No. I go in the bar. Where are all the hot people? It's like, nobody's hot these days. Go on the street. Maybe you see a good-looking dude here or there. He's hand in hand with some lady.
You know, having to date down, women being hypergamous, you know, having all the options. And women themselves don't really want to have kids anymore. They don't really want long-term relationships. Again, you have hookup culture as well. And so to put a long story short, social isolation because of tech, plus inflated female value, plus cheap dopamine equals most men giving up, okay? So women have the advantage. Women are enjoying the dating market right now, at least superficially. They're not actually enjoying the dating market because in a lot of ways. They are victims of their own power. They are victims of their own optionality and leverage, but they're enjoying it in the superficial sense, which is that they have all the options. They're never actually lonely, while men are increasingly lonely. And so we'll just leave it at that, okay? But something that's not talked about often is the male asymmetric advantage. And the great irony behind all of this, guys, and this is just a prediction, so take it with a grain of salt, is that all the power that was given to women by technology, right, in the form of social media and phones, will also be soon taken away by that very same technology. So it's really a full circle moment. What goes around comes around. There's a quote that says the same rope they used to lift you up will also be the rope they used to hang you. And in this case, I can't think of a more perfect analogy for what's happening. So the male asymmetric advantage is how simple male desire actually is. It's very easily satisfied by technology. Like what a guy actually wants out of human connection and relationships can still be simulated through technology. And right now it's not perfect, but soon it's going to be a lot better. And how is this going to be better? Well, in my estimation, it's going to be in the form of AI robots. In fact, there's an increasing demand for AI companions and AI partners among both men and women, but I'm going to talk about the differences between the two. So if you look over here, we can see like a list of countries based on search volume. USA is overwhelmingly at the top, but like there is a very, very high demand for AI girlfriends. And I believe that as the dating market continues to decline, this demand will increasingly be apparent, okay? So why is this male desire such an advantage? Because it's simple. And there's really four components to it. The first thing that men want in a relationship or from women is beauty. This is obvious. Anybody who tries to dispute this is a white knight who tries to sound virtuous and tries to take the moral high ground over me. But come on, bro, just admit it. Everybody wants looks in their partner, right? The second thing is sexual access. Of course, you want to have sex. That's part of being in a relationship, and that's part of being in a marriage. And then you also want femininity.
Hello, this is Shanoa. Now, regarding your question, you just want to know how your boyfriend feels about you, and you want to know if he truly loves you, and you want to know if you'll be long-term. Going by your cards, the Fool in the primary position and reverse does show that right now your boyfriend is kind of head over heels about you, which in this case can be a bit of a problem, as indicated by 8 of Cups in the secondary position. It's warning that because he's so full on into you, that it can lead to some situations where he can kind of get upset or find himself putting way too much of his well-being emotionally into you, which this is pretty normal with couplings that have a high attraction rate at the beginning. So the important part is to try and stabilize this, to keep any low lows from occurring because of how magnetized you two are. Ultimately, for the future, 10 of Cups in the final position in reverse does show that for long term, it looks like you will go through some difficulties. It shows that it's possible for you both to be long term or get married, but we really need to find a balance between the two of you. Otherwise, it won't happen. Now, if you want to know more about what will happen between the two of you for the rest of this year, as well as any other issues that may come up between you two, you can give me a call or send me a message. Hello, this is Shanoa. Now, regarding your question, you're wanting to know if you're going to find your soulmate soon. Going by your cards, the Chariot in the primary position is showing that right now you have a lot going for you when it comes to finding someone romantically. However, despite your level of attraction and any of your other personal traits, it seems like you're kind of struggling trying to balance different aspects of your life due to the Two of Pentacles in the center position. With it being reversed, it's kind of suggesting that you need to slow things down in your life so you can focus on the things that you really care about, such as finding someone special. I think this is a pretty important thing to be mindful of. Ten of Swords in the final position is showing that ultimately you're not going to find your soulmate anytime soon, but you do need to maintain an effort in trying to find someone. I do think an opportunity will come up for you around October if you keep addressing the issues related to your time and attention budget. So if you want to know more about who your ideal person will be, as well as any other issues that may come up between here and now, you can give me a call or send me a message.
Be combative, argumentative. Again, I'm not trying to say that I'm speaking for all men when I say this, but I would argue the overwhelming majority of men would rather have feminine qualities in their partner than masculine qualities. And the last thing is companionship. This one's really important. You want to feel like you have somebody by your side who's with you through thick and thin, who you're evolving with, who you're having a journey with, right? So right now, the problem is that only two of these desires are being satisfied. And that's mainly beauty and sexual access. You can argue that beauty and sexual access are fulfilled in the form of explicit content. And, if you want to go down a real life route, in the form of escorts. But there's two things that aren't really being satisfied adequately. And they are femininity and companionship. There's nothing that caters to the needs of a man who wants to feel like he's in a relationship. Imagine what's going to happen when technology finally addresses the two remaining components, which is femininity and companionship. It's virtually over, guys, okay? It's virtually over because this is going to simulate a relationship so well, and it's going to be so perfect and fantasy-like that I think most men are simply going to withdraw from ever dealing with real women or going through the ringer. Because again, it already is the case that in a lot of guys' perspectives, the juice isn't worth the squeeze.
What are you, Davey? Baby, we couldn't even get a drink together. What? You can't buy me nothing. What do you mean? Look at your outfit. What are you wearing?
Ready to learn more about Entyvio today? Talk to your healthcare provider and visit Entyvio.com. With Entyvio, you may be able to pay as little as $0 per dose. Plus, our team can help connect you with additional support programs.
Get up to 50% off gifts for mom and Michaels. Save on floral, frames for her favorites, and so much more. Or try 10-minute custom framing plus balloons for an easy gift she'll love. Shop now in store or online.
They don't want to go and approach women. They don't want to level up their SMP. They don't want to do all of that shit just to be able to get a worse quality product than what their grandfathers got for far less. So I think that if AI is able to address these four components, we have ourselves a situation where most men are just going to completely check out if they haven't already. Okay? Now I want you to imagine this with me. Let's actually do a thought experiment for a second. I want you to imagine an AI girlfriend that looks realistic, has a hole that feels realistic, talks in a way that sounds realistic, and has a personality that's tailored exactly to you. Like I promise you, with the current dating situation, most guys are never looking back. Okay, they're 100% getting themselves one if it's affordable. Now, the main bottleneck for something like this being a reality is not actually the software component, it's the hardware. It's the fact that putting an AI inside of a physical robot, there's a lot of constraints that come with that. You know, the way that it moves, the facial expressions that it makes, you know, the certain mechanics that it has. So this is a work in progress, right? Something like this, as far as the hardware is concerned, to make something that actually looks like this, it's probably going to take some time for it to be good at least. So, you know, I don't think this is going to happen right away, but I think that what's going to happen first is that it's going to be accessible digitally. So you're going to have these AIs in the form of apps, in the form of virtual reality, etc. And you know, that's already kind of happening. Look at how many people in China, for example, are using emotional relationships with AI and considering that their actual partner. And I'll explain why this doesn't really work in reverse. So someone might say, well, okay, as soon as AI girlfriends come out, given that they're realistic and everything, most guys are going to use it, but doesn't the same also apply to women? Like if a chat AI came out, wouldn't women also check out of dating and resort to him instead? And my answer to that is absolutely, for many reasons. Number one, women have much higher social, financial, and emotional needs, which can only be satisfied by a real man. Like, I'm sorry, I don't care how advanced an AI is, it's probably not passing shit tests, it's probably not paying for vacations. How do you even have an AI with status? Like, that doesn't make sense. How is it going to have social status, and how is it going to protect and provide, right? It's just, it doesn't make sense. So I don't see AI boyfriends becoming a big thing in the foreseeable future. I just think there's very little demand for them. And we can actually see over here, it seems like I'm correct in my hypothesis. There is significantly higher demand for AI girlfriends compared to AI boyfriends. Market data shows that AI girlfriends are roughly 7 times more popular, with searches for them up 2,400%, and 17% of active AI apps featuring girlfriends in their names compared to 4% for boyfriends, okay? And, you know, obviously the reason for this gap is because there's just a huge disparity between the male experience and the female experience in dating, but also you have other sides of the argument where people are saying, well, AI boyfriends are currently becoming more popular, especially in places like China. And I would just reply to that by saying, yeah, maybe like a chatbot version, but that's not going to stop them from dealing with real men. Like, I don't really see an incentive for women to fully check out, right? You're only really going to fully check out if it's gotten so bad to where it's just pointless to continue. So I don't really see women checking out and resorting to AI in the same way men do. Okay, you could argue sub 3.5 women, right? Women who are literally sub 4 would do it. But other than that, I think the rest are certainly going to continue dealing with real men. And another reason I believe this is that if women were similar to men in the way that they cope with loneliness, then we'd see a lot more video game addict women, we'd see a lot more corn addict women, and we'd see a lot more chronically online women. But it's actually mainly men who are socially isolated, chronically online, and using technology to cope. Women don't do that as much. They still do, but not as much, because we're just evolutionarily different. Women seem to need real social validation and attention a lot more than we do, okay? So that's simple. And one objection you may have to this is you might say, well, you know, real human connection is invaluable. It can't be replaced. Even if there was an AI robot which caters to your fantasies, has the perfect personality, is as attractive as you want her to be, it's still never going to fill the void of a real human connection. And my answer to that is, I don't know if that's true. I don't know if human connection is as valuable as people say it is. And I'll explain why. I think it's important for sure. Like, there's no doubt human connections are important, but I don't think it's so valuable to the point where it can't be replaced or at least accurately simulated by technology. If people can't get the best thing, they're probably going to settle for the next best thing. So if AI can simulate relationships accurately enough, most men are just going to accept the trade-off that comes with not having a real human partner. You guys would be surprised, man. Like, I don't think people realize how much a guy is able to delude himself into thinking that the AI is real and treating it like a real autonomous person. Okay, most guys will do that if it's realistic enough and you know, if it's hot enough and if it does all the other stuff. So another thing to consider is that even though human connection is important, having a girlfriend, having a relationship is better than fucking resorting to AI, incels do not even have a reference point for what a relationship feels like. So they're just going to assume that the AI is real. They're just going to assume that their experience with artificial intelligence is good enough to be what it would be like if they had a girlfriend. And then you have the other argument where guys are going to go, but women aren't really going to be affected or care because the incels who would use an AI girlfriend are the same guys who are invisible to women in the first place. So why would it matter? And my response to that is you're a fool if you think it's just going to be incels who check out and use AI, okay? Think about jester maxers, guys who have to put in a lot of effort to get women. Think about beta booksters, guys who leverage money and status to attract women. And pretty much every non-top 1% guy, think about every non-top 1% guy, they're all going to think about it at least. And here's why. You guys need to understand just because someone is an incel does not mean they have seamless or even great experiences with women.
Let's kiss for the chat. That's crazy. She gonna be a bitch I leave. No, I don't play with women. All that playing, I don't play with women, gang. I'm that nigga. I'm really him, bro. I don't care how beautiful a woman is, none of that, bro. I make my own millions. Don't nobody go around for me. Don't nobody want to bow for me.
There's a lot of non-incels with women who they prefer to be more attractive, or women whose personalities they prefer to be different, or they're getting mistreated by their partner. They're in sexless and bedroom relationships. All of those guys are also going to be incentivized to switch. So I actually think by the time this stuff becomes a reality, it's only going to be less than 10% of guys who aren't incentivized to use AI. The rest of them absolutely. Like the sex bot, like if these robots come out, I guarantee you 90% of guys will be incentivized. And you might just say, well, how is this going to affect women? Well, think about it this way. What are the jester maxers give? A lot of attention, right? So she's going to have less jesters around her, less attention. She's going to have less men to vary for resources because the beta bugs are going to go, well, I could just pay a one-time fee, no matter how expensive, to this AI and save a shit ton of money on the first fees that come back to like, you know what I mean? So it gets less men to vary, more competition for the few men that actually remain with the dating scene. And it's just a disaster. Like, do you really
Tried to be joking.
satisfied by life? It's not happening, guys. I'm sorry. In no reality is one guy going to be able to share 8 weeks. Like, that's literally too many women. So yeah, women are going to be, if this AI shit actually happens, as I predict, women are certainly going to be affected by this. So you might be asking, what about kids? I want kids. No, AI is never going to do kids. Well, I've already went up to the birth rates decline statistics before. You know birth rates are going down. Do you know that kids are increasingly becoming a non-factor on Gen Z? Like most people who are young don't even really want to have kids, especially women. They don't want to have kids. And if they do, they're delaying it a lot, well into their 30s. So you're just as likely to have kids from robots, and in fact, you're probably even more likely artificial intelligence. That's like sci-fi for now. As you do for real women. So kids are just not even that much of a factor, not as big of a factor as people think. And because of family declining and becoming less of a priority, this is going to set the stage perfectly for AI to come in and completely just obliterate whatever is left of the data. So you might be asking, is this going to happen in our lifetime? And in my estimation, absolutely. I think technology advances exponentially. So even though from our reference point today, we know in dystopian sci-fi reality that's so far in the future, I think it's going to come soon. And if you want to realize that, I think that AI robot girlfriends are going to be widely commercially available in the next few years. And I think companies are financially motivated to produce these robots, which is why there's a lot of competition and a lot of haste when it comes to developing these things. Like, guys, these big corporations aren't stupid. They know there's a lot of demand for them. They know they're going to make billions of dollars for making them. So that's what they're doing right now. Okay, and I'm going to address some objections. There's some real objections that may make this not that plausible, which I'll also consider. The first one is, high energy water expenditure, right? AI is extremely expensive in that sense. So, that's a problem. I don't really know how to answer that right now.
Mr. Paper.
But it's certainly a problem. The second thing is it's going to be unaffordable to the masses initially. So these things first.
Oh my god, that's funny.
However, this is really the case for everything that's new. Whenever a new piece of technology comes out, it's a lot more expensive than whenever it becomes normalized. So if they're able to find a way to mass produce these things, the price will eventually drop. And even if it is expensive, even if it is extremely expensive, think about the money men spend on women probably save money buying a robot, paying a one-time fee for that, and then checking out that you would spending money upon a girlfriend or a wife over the course of your entire life. It's just the reality, even if it is unaffordable. If you think about it, a lot of guys are going to rationalize it like a good financial decision. The last thing is social perception and fear of judgment. So you might say, well, guys aren't going to buy this because if it were a reality, they're going to get judged for it, they're going to get called weird losers and so. Yeah, maybe initially, but we also felt that way about dating. Is there was a time where if you use dating apps were considered weird and socially, and there was a time where culturally considered weird. The point is just because something is initially perceived as weird doesn't mean it will continue to be perceived as weird. There's a normalization process that is happening, and once these things are out, once enough people buy them, it's going to be increasingly seen as weird. And that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is pretty much why I think AI girlfriends are going to take over the dating market and replace real women with this video. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.
Join the more than 8 million adults, like Michael, who've taken this epic.
As touring musicians, my type 2 diabetes could slow us down, but I didn't let it. I lowered my A1C and I saw a noticeable weight loss.
Don't share needles or pens. Only use needles. Don't take it if you or your family had MPC, meningitis, or is allergic to it. Stop taking it. Get medical help right away if you get a lump or swelling in your neck or any of these allergic reactions. Tell your provider if you plan to have surgery or a procedure, are nursing, pregnant, or plan to be. Serious side effects may include inflamed pancreas, gallbladder or severe stomach problems, or changes in vision. Call your prescriber if you have any of these symptoms. Taking Insuline, urea, or insulin may raise low blood sugar risk. Common side effects include nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, stomach pain, constipation. Some side effects lead to dehydration, which may worsen kidney problems. There's only one Ozempic. Talk to your healthcare professional.
needs for it enable the trajectory to head in that direction. Right? And then you also have increasing progressive use of feminist beliefs, and women sort of believing that they should have more sexual autonomy, that they should be free to do what they choose with their bodies, and all of the stuff that you saw during that time period, which planted the seeds. Mind you, it did not cause it, it just enabled things to progress in that direction. As the years went by, this stuff started becoming increasingly more apparent, and this is kind of where things began. And then we started to see an economic power shift. In its sexual revolution, what you have to understand is it wasn't enough, this isn't enough on its own to cause dramatic women still depend on it. So even if they didn't want to be 3 or 4 and go around and sleep with a bunch of guys, the problem with that is that, they wouldn't have any long-term stability, they wouldn't have any financial, security. And so obviously no woman wants to be homeless just to hook up with a bunch of chads. I mean, you might argue some women, but certainly a lot of them are self-preserving. They want to take care of themselves. And so it just wasn't possible during this time period because women still depended on men financially. However, that started to change very, very rapidly. And what we ended up getting was women's increasing financial independence. They started to close the pay gap on men. They started to make nearly as much money as men. And in fact, today, in some states in America, they make more than men. In some other regions of the world, they make more than men. Okay? And the reason that this is so significant is because think about it this way. If you're solely levered, and again, this is the historical leverage was to provide for women financially, to be a resource provider, and that gets taken away from you because women are making their own money, and so they no longer need you for resources, then your leverage is going to be gone, and you're going to start seeing that sexual selection will shift in the favor of other things that you may not possess. Okay? So the economic shift is what made the culture sustainable, and so what made women able to indulge in the culture risk-free, pretty much without any consequences. Because they make their own money, they don't need your money. And we can see here this clothing pay gap. Right? So again, this is extremely important because what this economic power shift did was it basically changed the power dynamic between men and women. Women are starting to go, okay, I don't really need this guy to provide resources, but I'm going to start optimizing what I want, which happens to be pure, sexual/physical attractiveness. And men will observe this because, again, it's in the context of short-term dating, and they will generalize it to all contexts. Okay, this is where Lookism started, but we're not there yet. Let me slow down. And then we saw an education gap. Okay? Today, women make up nearly 60% of undergraduate students enrolled in U.S. degree-granting institutions. Women make up most of college graduates today. The education system also rewards feminine behavior and punishes masculinity. You have to sit still. You have to listen to the teacher. You can't go against the narrative. You have to be good and do what you're told. And women tend to excel at that a lot more than men. And because of this, right, because the education system favors women more, and women are again closing the pay gap, men are less motivated to go down this traditional path, going to college and getting a job. Because the overwhelming advantage you had before of being rich and having a lot of money is starting to decrease. Like nowadays, if you want to leverage purely your money to attract a high quality mate, you need to be extremely rich. Like even being 6-figure isn't enough. There's a lot of 6-figure earners right now who are incel and can't seem to attract women. Making 6 figures, that's above average, well above average in the culture, right? And then you also have the fact that finding a job and working a job that pays a lot is extremely difficult today because of AI, because many jobs have decreased in pay. And if you combine all these factors, men are just less motivated to do the things that used to be necessary to attract women. And now we have this culture, this is where things started to change, where women are prioritizing short-term dating against long-term dating. And there's extensive evolutionary research on the fact that when women focus on long-term dating, they tend to prioritize many different things. It's multivariable. However, the more short-term dating oriented the woman is, the more likely she is to focus on superficial things like physical attractiveness. And we see here, this is a study by David Buzz across 37 samples in 33 countries. Females were found to value cues to resource acquisition and potential mates in high males. Okay? So they actually do value resource acquisition. They do value these things, but not as much today because they have access to it themselves. And so what we see today, especially in young women, not so much in older women, is that they tend to prioritize quick thrills, emotional spikes, novelty, fun over things like stability, households, family, etc. And these are things that things that chats offer, and ugly men simply cannot, right? And because of this huge disparity between the two, all men who don't classify in that superficial category become insecure. They start to get disappointed in themselves. They start to feel like there's nothing that they can do. And I want to address a very important misconception here. This doesn't mean that women are not socioeconomically diverse too. They definitely are. The research extensively shows that women do in fact prefer men who make more money than them, even when they themselves make a lot of money. So it's not that they're not hypergamous with money and status. They absolutely are. It's just that they're hypergamous with those things long term. They're not hypergamous with those things short term. So yes, they'll hook up with a guy who makes less money, but when it comes to long term, they're still hypergamous with those things. Okay? So let's keep that in mind. And then, if things weren't already bad enough, we had globalization, right? So thanks to technology improving so much, the world became so much more interconnected. When you once used to compete with people in your local community or the people around you, now you're competing with the rest of the world for the same pool of sexual access. And, this makes intersexual competition between men a lot stronger, which means women's standards go up, which means hypergamy gets even stronger and even crazier, right? So, again, this is a really important thing before globalization. Even with all of these other things, it wouldn't be so bad, right? It would be worse, but it wouldn't be as bad. Globalization is like the nail in the coffin. This is what made women's standards go absolutely crazy and made things a lot more difficult for men. And so in the past, you probably compare yourself to the top guy in your local community, which meant that you have this sense that things were realistic to achieve. Now, you go on your phone, you're comparing yourself to the top 1% of the entire world, not your local community, the entire world. And so things just feel completely unrealistic and completely unattainable because of globalization. And we have phones as well, right? Accessible entertainment, cheap dopamine. You got social media, you have video games. There's less of an incentive for you to leave the house and socialize because all the dopamine is already readily available on your phone. And this is actually what I believe is the culprit for the trend of people being more socially isolated. It wasn't social media, it wasn't dating apps, it was the phones themselves. This is the root cause, okay? And then we started getting COVID lockdowns, right? You guys remember during lockdowns? Ask yourself what you were doing during this time. You're probably completely isolated, completely to yourself, and over-reliant on your phone and on social media. Right? This is exactly what they want. More reliance on technology, less real-life socialization, boosted parasocial relationships with greater than streamers, right? This is where streaming culture started to pick up because everyone was home all day, they had nothing to do, and then you spent even more time as a victim of the social media algorithms. And essentially what COVID did was it catalyzed the decline of community and human interaction. Before COVID, there was still some level of human interaction, still some level of physical presence in life. After COVID, we all thought that things would go back to normal, things would go back to the way they were before, but actually, we're still kind of emulating COVID subconsciously. We're all kind of living in a way like COVID is still around. This is the scariest part of it all. COVID never actually left us, guys, okay? And then we had dating apps. This is actually where things started getting extremely bad, okay? Because of this void that we had, the lack of social connection, lack of going outside, lack of meeting people organically, dating apps became an amazing business model. Okay, we're going to fill that void. We're going to help you meet people and develop connections even though they're not actually real, okay? And what dating apps do is they compress everything that makes a man attractive historically, resource provisioning, confidence, social skills, hell, even height, okay? And then they compress it into a superficial dimension, which is just your looks, right? Just like what they see, okay? And then people assume that the dating app experience reflects reality. It reflects what would actually happen in the real world. It was all algorithmically designed against you from the start. Think about it this way. There are more men on dating apps than women, right? Men outnumber women, I think, 2 to 1, maybe even 3 to 1 on dating apps, okay? And so the competition compresses everything to just looks. And then a young man who's never talked to a girl in real life or never had any social experience before will use dating apps, have a bad experience on it, and then internalize things like blackmail because this is his only experience, right? So this is how the loop starts. You don't go outside, you start using apps. The apps don't work because they're extremely superficial and rigged against you. You start to feel worse about yourself. So you use the apps more to try to salvage that feeling, and then you feel even worse, right? So again, I have to emphasize that you don't deserve an answer. It is not the dating app. Without the phone, without this, none of this would be possible. Creator/attention economy. Okay, so you start seeing content creators on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, and you start to see that success is visually mediated. The more attractive people, this disproportionately being rewarded on social media. They're getting all the fame, they're getting all the money, they're getting all the women, right? And then what we have is a situation where content creators like you, right, who didn't invent anything, they're not revolutionaries. They simply pointed out issues that already existed, and because it resonated with so many people, people related to him, and so he blew up as a result. So the world pretty much set the stage. All Clap had to do was just walk up on the stage, right? And so what we have to realize is these algorithms reward extreme content that push unrealistic messages. They want you to feel depressed. They want you to feel hopeless. They want your heart to be cold. This is exactly going according to plan. If I was one of the elites, I would be extremely thrilled with the direction the world is going because it's all according to plan. Algorithm optimizes for emotional engagement. This is why you have a lot of doing crazy shit.
I snatched a frame.
It's emotionally engaging to watch someone like him. Okay? And especially when the message is extremely cruel and intuitive to you because you kind of already understood it before watching the video, but it reinforces your beliefs, then there's an even stronger emotional component. And then all of this set the stage for looks max. Since the world became extremely superficial with social media, hookup culture, there became a hyperfixation on looks. Men realized, oh, the old strategy to get women doesn't work. I need to adapt. And the only thing that seems to work, that seems to be the metric that I can improve, that can really move the needle, is looks. So this is what men start doing. For the first time in history, they actually adopt the female strategy. They start self-beautifying. They start doing things that historically women did to raise their sexual value. And the problem is that this doesn't work long term. The reason things like looks maxing don't work long term is because of the amount of time experiment. I'm just going to briefly go over this. It's an analogy of a simulation built it on rice. You can look up the mouse you token and get it on your own time. It's actually the mic.
Granger offers professional grade products, easy ordering, and next day delivery, making them the go-to play for everyone keeping arenas game day ready. Call, click, or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
You can count on AARP Auto Insurance from the Hartford for benefits that really matter and hundreds in savings.
Options most days, I'm not thinking about my car and home insurance.
And that's how it should be.
Cool.
It's a straight line to the answer.
Hello, this is Shanoa. Now, regarding your question, you're wanting to know if your boyfriend is talking to someone else, or is he actually telling you the truth? Going by your cards, 8 of Cups in the primary position does show that there is something that he was doing that he doesn't seem very proud of. So it already looks like he might be a little deceptive. Now, Queen of Pentacles in the secondary position does show that in terms of things for you, you don't need to be too worried about it. So this is telling me that he did kind of try to talk to someone else, but it didn't go anywhere, is what I'm getting from this, which would explain why he seems to not feel that good about whatever he did. 2 of Swords in the final position does show that mainly things between the two of you will even out and reach a normal baseline in about the next week and a half. So I don't think you should worry too much about it. But overall, regarding your boyfriend's actions, it seems like he did kind of make a bit of a pass at someone else. And it didn't go well, and it kind of hurt his confidence a little bit. So he just doesn't want to talk about it, really. Now, if you want to know more about what other things he might get into later this year, as well as your compatibility with each other, you can give me a call or send me a message. Hello, this is Shanoa. Now, regarding your question, you're wanting to know how he will feel if he finds out that you're in the hospital. Going by your cards, Ace of Pentacles in the primary position does show that initially he will actually try to go see you if you're still in the hospital. The Five of Pentacles in the secondary position does show that he'll actually feel a little devastated by whatever your condition is. And it will seem to bring the both of you closer in an odd way due to the circumstances. Now, King of Wands in the final position does show that this will cause a bit of a change in him regarding both of your dynamics. So what I'm getting from this is it seems to be suggesting that if you go ahead and tell him what's going on with you, it'll actually really help things between the two of you going forward. It seems like it'll be a way to strengthen your bond with each other. Now, if you want to know what the future holds for both of you later in the year, as well as any other events that may come up, you can give me a call or send me a message. What?
Archetypal Chad who is better than me because he was born better than me, and there's nothing I could do to get to where he is, right? And then you start to see all self-improvement as cope. You start to just completely lose hope and become nihilistic about the prospect of finding love because of your genetic situation. And then finally, what we have is this loss of belief in self-improvement and social skills, okay? Because we have this thing called learned helplessness, which is that idea that, okay, if looks are everything and genetics are fixed, then failure is not my fault. Okay, I can't change things that are fixed and out of my control. So it feels good. It's almost a cope, right? These are the kinds of people who will call you a coper, but this is the biggest cope of them all because it absolves you of responsibility. The world is rigged against me. Everything is genetically determined. So I should just stop trying and I should just give up. And then, you have men growing up today in the social media age, very little social experience. They probably never approached a girl in their life. And they have this very jaded view of the world, even though it doesn't stem from experience. It just stems from what they see and what they hear and the popular narrative online. And I'm not saying that it's not partially true. There's 100% truth in the fact that there are certain things out of your control which absolutely matter, which are going to affect your results. But to put all your eggs in this one basket and say, I can't change anything and there's nothing that I can do, that is actually a lie. Because there absolutely is. And people have the biggest ego when it comes to things like social skills because they'll say, well, as long as you're just normal, your looks should do the rest. Okay? And the thing is that most people have actually pretty bad social skills, but they don't admit it to themselves out of ego. It's like people don't want to admit that there's actually kind of a skill gap with it. That's why it's called social skills. It's a skill that you build and that you develop over time. This is what we have right now. We have a society of men who have learned helplessness, who have learned to accept that there's nothing that they can do and that the situation is completely unsalvageable without any huge societal or political reform. So, I just had to make this video to explain to you guys, whenever you see comments of a black pillar or somebody who's saying like, looks are everything, trying is over, it stems from something very real. All of these things, everything that we just covered, this is what led to the problems that we have today, okay? The only issue isn't thinking that because of all of these problems, yes, it's rigged against you, but that it's impossible to get better results for yourself, that it's impossible to do the best with the cards that you're dealt. And I just do not like this nihilistic mindset because if we live in a black-pilled world, the last thing that we need is a bunch of black pillars. Okay, this is how society is going to collapse. We actually need people who are willing to create positive change, the change that they want to see in the world. We need people who are not quick to accept the circumstances that they're in, people who fight back, who resist a little bit. And only until then, when we get this anger, this collective anger about the situation, are we going to change? But right now, there's not even an anger about this. There's just numbness, defeatism, hopelessness. Never get up. Jeremy Meeks, never get up. This is how people feel. They don't even want to get up. So I thought I'd make this video explaining the entire situation, the dating space. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something from this. Leave a comment down below about your thoughts, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.
These men, they murdered my family. From here on out, it's me or them. I will help you.
From stank to sneezes, your air remembers. Unlike air fresheners, Lysol Air Sanitizer eliminates odors by killing 99.9% of viruses and bacteria in the air. Sun can't sanitize. Lysol can.
Your car deserves more performance with every drive. Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. A fuel like no other. More performance with every drive.
So I was on Discord the other day, and someone sent me a very interesting iceberg meme. If you've seen videos like the existential iceberg or the philosophical iceberg, it's basically that, but the manosphere version. All the ideas we've seen from red pill, pickup artistry, black pill, are all present in this iceberg. And the deeper you go, the crazier it gets. So I decided to modify this iceberg myself because there's a lot of useless fluff and, let's just say, questionable things I can't really talk about on YouTube. So anyways, let's take a journey deep inside the rabbit hole and see how far it goes. But before we do that, make sure you subscribe to the channel to keep up with all content that I post in the future, and check out my ebook, Esoteric Attraction. Link is in the description. This tier is so high that we haven't even reached the tip of the iceberg. This part is basically the womanhood in a nutshell, just having the most blue-pilled, sugar-coated, watered-down takes in the entire world. It's this narrative that not only is everything in your dating life within your control, but it's not even hard. It's effortless. It's as simple as getting a haircut or just smile, bro.
Smile. Though your heart is aching. Smile. Even though it's breaking.
Wait, what's going on? Dude, apparently, like, something happened with Chibi and there's, like, the FBI involved.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah. So I think people are, like, trying to SWAT him or something again. I don't know. Wait, hold on. FBI is involved. Okay, so he made a video. Do you want to watch this video? He posted it 2 hours ago.
If you want, I'm down. I'm down there. You want to react to it, like, right now?
Yeah, we can react to it. Whatever. I'm done.
This is the Chibi Reviews video. It's like breaking news. It's like just dropped 2 hours ago. He did post on over on X. He posted, the FBI is now involved. Stop fucking with me. Right now I'm safe and will be talking to the FBI and the police anyways. Love it all. And this is the video that he posted. All right, let's play the video. All right.
Wake up. The first thing I do is think about how much I am thankful to have you guys that have supported me over the years, and especially over these last few months. I honestly don't think I can ever repay you guys for the amount of love and support you have shown me. I think every single day I will be trying my best to make sure I can live up to your guys' expectations, because you guys have legitimately been one of the most shining bright lights in my life, and one of the big driving forces that even allows me to still be here right now, even being able to talk with you guys. To all those through the screen right now that has like given me support either through comments or the silent watchers, people that either, let's say, leave a like on the video or just give a view, I appreciate all of them. You guys have legitimately been individuals out there right now. I'm addressing all of you individually that has put a smile on my face. In the darkest moments, in the darkest times, you guys in particular have been the individuals that have really allowed me to continue to smile, to continue to push on forward, so to speak. And, you know, over these last few months, I've done, to be completely blunt, I've done a lot of soul-searching. I've thought about it. There was moments where I was about to break, be done. Like, there was a moment, to be completely blunt, rip off the Band-Aid. There was a moment back in February where I was so close to just quitting social media, quitting YouTube, being done. And the reason why is because of just all of the overwhelming negative emotions I had at the time. And it wasn't because I hate YouTube. It's not that I hate anime, manga, and hate talking about it. Like, one of the biggest joys in my life.
So like I guess I'd love to comment on it. Like he's been doing like a lot. Like there's so much like going on. There's like people threatening his brother's grave. Like he had this thing happen with like his fiance, and all of it getting swatted. And, like this guy's been like under immense pressure for like the last year. Really, it's been really sad. I think.
Yeah, I remember the night that like he posted. I woke up in the middle of the night and I saw that he was like basically about to like end, and I messaged the guy because I'm like, oh my gosh. And me and him have talked a little bit since then. And I look again, I don't agree with everything that he says, but holy smokes, you can't be so evil to someone to do that, especially like kicking someone down when they're already like in the dirt is awful. Like what like cheating is like never okay, and desecrating a family member's grave. How evil and vile of an individual do you need to be for that to happen, for that to cross your mind? It's horrible.
Right. You can vehemently disagree with someone and still be able to show them basic respect. I certainly don't agree with everything, that you hold opinions on, but I'm not going to agree with everyone on all their opinions. I don't treat people like that, even if I do think they're like actual monsters, even if they are. Not saying that he is. If you really did think that, like, it's still not an excuse for this.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. I feel like this is kind of their MO though. They always do it. So people like on the. It's not even just like people on the left. It's basically the people I call Francos. They're like the super authoritarian, like sorts of people, like the people who they all of their morality can be derived from following rules, regardless of like what the rule is. And I think they pick a set of rules and like they stick with it. It doesn't really matter what the results of those rules are. But anyway, those people, right? They always go out of their way to completely. I don't know. It's just they don't mind doing like for them. It's all worth it, right? Like whatever they do that's vile is worth it because it's for their sense of what is it's for the role and for posturing, right? Like they make themselves look like the ultra good people by doing this kind of stuff to people. And I mean that's how they treat it, right? Especially you see this more predominantly on the left. Again, it happens on the right as well.
Yeah. Absolutely, 100%.
And those of you that know, basically what happened was again multiple things. I believe they correct me if I'm wrong, but they pissed on his brother's grave.
I think that was like 2 years ago, no?
Right. Yeah, and then his fiance, basically was caught cheating on him with like his best friend or something like that.
Yeah,
and
like a decade.
Yeah, and like so he had this fiance for a long time. She cheated on him with his best friend, and then all of his friends basically didn't care. So he felt really alone.
Starting to dig him up, says chat.
Yeah, they were posting AI generated images of like digging up the grave and stuff like that. Yeah, that was a recent drama, but basically, he's been in a what? Oh, it's frozen. Sorry, my chat froze. But he's been just getting all of his harassment for so long, and everyone's been like they've like increased the amount that they've been harassing him, and just in completely vile ways.
Yeah. Right. And it's over the dumbest things too. Like one of it apparently being because of saying that Boruto is trash, and then I have my opinions about Lolly, but that and other things like he's very anti-censorship no matter what.
Yeah, that's the big one. So people are
yeah.
Alright, I'll keep on.
Is making content, is talking,
and as well as
talking about anime, manga, good news, bad news. I like talking about what I'm passionate with because, to be completely blunt, when I was growing up, I didn't have anyone to talk to. Like, nobody was into what I'm into. Like, nobody was into anime and manga. Like, I was the kid going to school, when I went into like middle school or like elementary, middle school, and then high school, I was the kid that would get bullied and thrown into a locker for talking about Dragon Ball. And I know this seems like an insane thing to say, because obviously we live in an age now where like anime and manga is accepted way more than it used to be.
Can I pause this real quick? This is so true, by the way. Like a lot of people nowadays, they see like anime and manga and gaming to be like really cool.
Mainstream.
Yeah, exactly. It was like the nerd thing to be in before. Like you were the giga nerd if you were into anime. Anime and Dungeons and Dragons. If you're into those two, like gaming was kind of nerd, but like not as bad. Like it was more like sci-fi, anime, and tabletop. Those were like the giga nerds, right? And yeah, it's way more mainstream.
Online MMOs, those would probably get you labeled as a giga nerd too.
Oh yeah, that too.
Yeah.
World of Warcraft.
I've gotten rated like 3 times already, or 4 times. Thank you guys. You're so sweet. Thank you to everybody who's rated so far.
Hi everyone.
I don't want to interrupt Leaflet while she was talking. So thank you. Thank you so much. You guys are amazing. Thank you. Rico, my brother, God bless you. It's good to see you.
Yeah, basically, I mean, any of you guys want to comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I was like younger in like middle school, anime, like, yeah, people were talking about it, but like as I got older, people were like into it. And there came a point where like manga and anime were they were out competing Western media. And it's been such a big threat here in America to, you know, cartoons and stuff as they become like more leftist and woke in media. People started fleeing to anime because that stuff doesn't really fly, you know, too much really in anime and manga, at least like openly in most things. So, I mean, it's crazy to see how many people are so like anti-anime. And sure, I may not agree with all the themes and things like that, but I think it's a really great medium. I think it's awesome, and it's my favorite one. I don't care for American cartoons really. Nowadays, it's slop. It's a lot of slop.
I think I have to disagree a little bit. Sorry.
You go ahead.
But like, I don't think it's that people are anti-anime necessarily. It's more like they want to make it more in their image. Like they want to take a community that has already existed, and then and this is because like we nerds, like if you're ever been like a giga nerd in that situation, we are very passionate.
YouTubers, you're a giga nerd.
Yes, sure. But we're very passionate about what we like. Yeah. And it's like we want to share it with people, you know, whether that's, you know, Pokemon or it's, you know, Precure or something like that. We get really, really passionate about it, and we want to share it with other people. And if you look at like, and this is kind of boomer, I'm probably the oldest person here, but like thinking about like how conventions were, like old anime conventions. I'm talking like, you know, 15 years ago, like anime conventions. They were a lot different. Like back then, it was a lot more giga nerds. You didn't have like the whole like super what's the word for it, the hyper try hard like cosplay scenes. Like back then, like if you were a cosplayer, you were like the giga nerd of the giga nerds, basically. Yeah. The hood weaves. But yeah, it was really like that. And the anime conventions were a lot smaller. There was a lot less drama.
2010 conventions.
Yeah, people were super excited to like meet other people. Like anime conventions were where you met with people in real life that were into anime. It wasn't like a common thing to get into. And you know, because of that, we are very, very, we're like, oh, come love anime like us. And then they come in here, and then those people come in here, and they're like, actually, you know what? I kind of like this, but it would be better if it was more for me. And then they basically kind of,
And they complain about games where, you know, there's been a meme where all three games make their characters like look really ugly, and then, you know, Asians, right, they make these really, you know, beautiful, gorgeous main characters, and they want, you know, these Asian companies to do the same thing that the Western companies are doing. It's like, you know, if everything blends it together, you know, and becomes arbitrary, then there's no distinction, there's nothing. Like, you might as well throw it all in the wood chipper or something, I don't know. And why are you forcing your ideals, you know, onto a different group? That's not how you do it. It's
Fair
really
well.
annoying, honestly. It really is.
Lucky Michael. Thank you, General. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the red.
Sorry. I gotta make sure I don't make this 18-minute video in 2 hours or so.
Obviously, we know this, but
I would.
it is and if all of a sudden throwing you into a locker unless you're watching Dragon Ball Z sounds insane in this day and age. But I was one of those kids, and because of that, I probably want to really discuss anime long, discuss my hobby, gaming, etc. Because obviously I lived in the country zone, nowhere basically, and I wasn't able to make any friends. So one of the driving forces was to basically eventually find a community online. And that's what drove me to make a channel, a YouTube channel. Why I did. And that happened, and I've been here ever since. It's been since 2013, well, 2014, technically, beginning of 2014. And it's been a long time, and it's been some of the best years of my entire life. I honestly don't know what I would be doing right now if I wasn't a content creator. Well, yeah.
Ask your doctor if Entyvio, including the Entyvio pen, is right for you.
Now at Whataburger, you can get the new Big Ranch Wrap for $3, 5 premium wanted chicken bites for $4, or Bacon Cheese Whataburger Junior for $5. Add fries and a drink for a little more. Now that's a $1 at One Up Burger. Download the app.
You guys have to check this out. So you can basically enter a prompt like this and add a few details, and then the AI will essentially create a fully functioning website for you. You can even test out different layouts, different colors. You can even
I'm
generate
just
images
mad.
directly within the tool itself. I'm blown away. Honestly, this is such a game changer. This is going to make work so much more accessible to anyone who wants an intuitive way to make their dream website.
Yeah. But back in the day, I found a little bit on the tangent. I was one to quit. And the reason for it is because there has been not just stuff on stage, online, but stuff in my personal that has been really, I just got it. Yeah. So, when you're dealing with stuff on both sides, it does feel way. It just, by the way,
Each other. If you're talking about, just say pause and hurry up.
Yeah, I think this is a good point to pause to kind of reiterate. Yeah, JB's just been through a lot, and it's neat to see that because like, Love and Marine just seems pretty chill. Like, I don't know, man. It breaks my heart. Like, if this happens to any of my friends, I would be doing a scorched earth for them, 100%.
TV's ex says he was born
It's the
in
same
1995.
fucking word.
Oh, so it's like 29, 30, yeah, 30s.
So like,
31.
okay, yeah. Well, and one thing that he did point out was like being a content creator. This is like kind of a side of content creators. I think that people don't really think about is that when you do this and as you start to get like kind of more traction and you have a bigger audience, you know, of course you're gonna build up like a lot of enemies. Like people just like hate you for whatever reason.
Oh yeah.
Especially if you're controversial, especially if you're saying stuff that's kind of not the, you know, the safe stuff. That's
Yeah.
exactly. Now what happens is they start to bring it into your real life. They start to threaten your real life. They start to threaten your well-being, your peace, all of these things, and they do it specifically to make you stop. And it's it works on a lot of people, right? It's difficult to deal with. Like not everybody's built for it. It gets really really bad. Like I've even quit. I've even almost quit like several times. So I totally get it.
at your just your mental state, to be completely honest. And at the end of the day, I know it's crazy to say, I know I'm a content creator, but I am a human.
I hope that never happens to you
At
guys.
the end of the day,
But it actually already has a little bit, right? With
Yeah,
the
yeah,
convention.
and I can tell you later about like other stuff too, just because I don't want people like looking around. But it's bad. Like when every time I'm open about my faith, and it comes to it, and it makes a certain group of people angry, they get hysterical and they start doing a lot of the bad stuff.
Yeah. I mean, for as small as I am, even I've received like death threats.
Yeah.
Like it's bad.
It is bad, and it's like these people they don't. I'll be real. Like a lot of these people don't really treat people online as human. It's just how it is.
Especially VTubers, like that's an extra layer of this person isn't real, because they're literally an anime girl. What are you talking? That's not a real person.
Well, see, but the weird thing is they try to make it real, right? So, like for instance, right? Like even if I have a disagreement with someone online, like I don't want them to get death threats. I don't want their livelihood. I don't want them to always be looking over their shoulder thinking that they're gonna, get killed or something like that, right? But these other people, they actively want that. They actively want you to feel like you can get hurt, whether that's weaponizing the police by swatting or other methods. They try to do that.
Human being. I'm flesh and blood, talking, living,
We should
breathing,
go for a
the same as all of you guys out there right now that is watching this video. If you are still watching this video, but there might only be like a few hundred watching it right now. And so, well, to the few individuals that are watching this video right now at this point, I do thank you. Thank you for dealing with my annoying self for this long.
She made drama videos do way better.
Okay, so if all of this, all of that is what drove me to be a YouTuber and all that. Why would I want to click? Well, obviously, there was no reason. Like, I was close because I just was so tired of the overwhelming negativity.
It's usually
the
not one big
lack
thing.
of, like,
There's a bunch of small things,
I wouldn't necessarily say support, because you guys have supported me, like I already opened up with this video. But the overwhelming nature of just how many content creators were trying to run me off the internet. There is a lot I think you guys have seen.
That's another angle actually that you don't really think about too much. Is it's not just like random anti people. It's also like the crabs in the bucket, like content creators also. They do that too. They try to drag other people.
Yeah, and it's like, instead of, and here's the thing, right? Obviously, we don't want to, like, judge each other, right? Because everybody has to do their own thing. But, like, if you have friends and you collab and you're working hard, like, there's no reason to bring other people down. Focus, be in your lane, and be around the people who support you, and you'll build your community. It's taken me, like, I started streaming, like, 6 years ago, and it was on and off for a long time. And then in the last 2 years, I've been really consistent, and I've met really amazing people like you guys, but it takes time. And sometimes you might never make it, but you should still be thankful even for the little or plenty that you have. Like, people are not satisfied. And I mean, I feel that way too, but I'm not going to go out there and be a crowd and try to drag someone else down. Just keep working on it or give up. I don't know. But don't start to bring other people down because you can't handle yourself. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
and entitlement too. That's another thing too. Wait, what?
Oh, I said, any thoughts as well, Maria? I thought you were done. That's fine.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Whoops.
People get super competitive as content creators. Anybody in the same type of niche, there's a knee-jerk reaction of this person can't do better than me, especially if they already like look down on you a little bit. Like the jealousy and the competitiveness like ramps up even more. It's really unfortunate.
Yeah, and it's the behind the scenes stuff, guys.
There's so much behind the
There
scenes.
is a lot of drama.
You don't even know.
That's why I don't really hang out with people. Like I hang out with you guys, like Rana and Master and stuff like that. But it's why I generally don't hang out with people because it's kind of I've seen it, I don't like it.
It's bad, man. And that's like that hasn't been too much my case, but I've seen it destroy people. Like looking at the greater like VTuber space. I don't want to drop names, but I mean, for the sake of dropping them, but like Cinder, right? they tried to drag her down like really hard. People tried to drag out like even smaller people like Juju, like Powder. It's been a bloodbath out here, and I can't participate in that, man. It's disgusting.
Do you want to know a good way to tell if like it's something like that? Look at the amount of people coordinating for it to happen. That's how you can tell. Because if it's like one person saying something, then it might be like more genuine. But if it's a bunch of people like kind of waiting and like coordinating, and then they do like they take an action like together, then you're like, okay, this is like kind of sus, right? That's how I would look at it. Jen. Is like try to pay attention to the connections that occur like right before and during like a thing happens. Like how many people are replying to a thing like in a weird way or a little bit too fast, or like and that's a good way to know.
Like recently too. Sorry to keep adding in over. I know I have to sleep eventually, but like the whole situation with Saikuno and like Mujin had a video ready pretty much like the same day or the next day, and it's like, how long were you holding on to this and waiting for this guy to slip up or for things to come out? They were 100% coordinating with the mistresses or whatever you want to call them. It's insane, dude, what people do when there's like popularity and clout involved. It's ridiculous.
It's stuff like that, or like if you have one person who's involved in a thing and then one of their acquaintances is the one that comes out and attacks you. That's another way that you can know that it's like it's like some kind of there's like some sus coordination going on behind the scenes. Right.
Yeah.
That have legitimately tried to slander me, use fake screenshots. They have just labeled me any form of buzzword under the sun. People have called me literally a pedophile. They have called me a Nazi. They have called me racist.
Yo, how about you guys? You guys got all three of those?
Racist. Good.
Imagine I got all three of those so far.
Transphobic.
I got that one too.
All sorts of things. Any type of label you can imagine. I've